There he
Hello.
is.
Hello.
Hello, nice to meet you.
You as well.
Oh, wonderful. It made my mouth dry just listening to you both. First of all, it made me want to cry and weep, but at the same time, also privileged conversation to be able to, as you were saying, be in a forum where you can actually talk about those things, but also being able to have a place where you can actually let it resonate. You know, it's
Hmm.
it's just so mind-boggling. You know what's going on in the world. You know, like in Boston, but also like in the Ukraine, like anywhere. Doesn't matter. Like, which is amazing to have platform like this where there's so much you were saying trash out there that is being shared, and this is to me real. You know,
Hmm.
that's the
Yes.
real stuff that needs to be talked about or heard, you know, and I
Mm.
think it's just, thank you. I'm like, amen. So good.
No,
So
thank
good.
you.
And thank you for killing my buzz.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm joking. I'm really, really joking.
You know what, Noam? My son calls me the destroyer of dreams. So, I mean,
Oh, no.
I'm just saying it happens.
But you're the voice of the future. You are the voice of the future, the voice we need to hear.
Thank you.
I mean this. I mean this. So
The
what are we going to talk about?
destroyer of dreams. Sorry. Sorry.
Wow. He's going to need therapy.
Yeah, yeah. I think I need it first.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh,
How was your trip most recently? You were in Atlanta and Els was there as well, right? So
yes.
you went to see Joel. So how was that?
Yes. First of all, he had a beautiful, beautiful studio, over 3,000 square feet, you know, like a 16-year, you know, like business where he had from martial arts to weight training to nutrition to hanging ropes where you can do yoga and stretch people from physiotherapy areas, and also tons and tons of classical Pilates equipment, and also even um, what is it called? Red sauna, like
Red cord?
the sauna with what is it called?
Oh, infrared therapy.
Infrared. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes. So it was amazing just to be in that environment where he cultivated a culture of people wanting to be in their bodies, curious, open. So I look like a superstar because I was like, oh my God, you're so good. I'm like, no, he did all the work. All I have to do. What about that? And they're like, oh my God, because like the seeds were planted, and I was basically the chipmunk going like, hey, I'm gonna pull this out. Look at that.
Oh, too soon. No, too soon.
too
Oh
soon.
yeah. Well, you would hate me, Misty, because I feed my squirrels. I have organic nuts. And right now I'm seeing three of them in front of my windows because they became my only friends during the pandemic. I was alone in the studio, so I started to feed the squirrels. And
Yeah.
now like I'm feeding them organic nuts and they're like all like this outside. So you would like that. I don't think the people taking care of the plants likes me, but hey, c'est la vie.
I'm just saying, if your squirrels start disappearing, I'm rooting for the plant people. That is
Oh,
all.
Uh,
I
I
see you. I know who you are.
I'm somewhere in between those two because I during the pandemic when the kids were home and they were watching the squirrels outside, they decided to grab nuts and feed them, and they grabbed like the $12 bag of cashews from Costco
Of
to
course.
start feeding the squirrels. I was like, we bought those. You know how much we like, spend good money on those wild animals.
Oh, I
It's
love them.
crazy. Anyway,
From a distance, I love them, like in books.
that that
In
that
books.
distance. Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
That wasn't your first time in a studio, though, was it?
At a studio, yes, I was. And
Really?
so it was, and the weather also right now we're having like this morning, I felt like the Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch, you know, like the Wicked Witch, you know, like on the bridge, there was so much wind. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it here, but I'm like, over there was like, it was raining here then, and it's still raining today, but over there was 28 degrees, super,
Yep.
super green, super, super, you know, like humid. It was really nice. Like
Yeah.
weird, but yes.
Sorry, no, just to paint a picture here, just can you just tell everyone basically just like where you are and like where you learned your Pilates and what your connection to Joel is as well.
Okay. Um, Noam. I'm French Canadian. So if you have if you're lost in translation, so am I.
Yes.
I started to do Pilates at a studio here in Vancouver at the Pilates called the Pilates Center, Vancouver Pilates Center has changed name, sorry. The Vancouver Pilates Center, I think now it's called. I did that for 16 years. I was dancing. I'm still dancing, but I was on the road for almost 16 years. And then got injured and then decided to do a program. I went to the Pilates Center in Boulder, Colorado, and did that. And then over the years created a teacher training program, and then went to Vintage Pilates, studied with Jay Grime. And then during that time, I did the Franklin method. So I did level 1, level 2, level 3. And since then, I'm on the faculty teaching level 1, level 2, on my way to teach level 3, but I don't know. So during the pandemic was like a lot of teacher training, which was wonderful.
Yeah. And you did a show too, right? Like you did.
I did a show during 2 shows during the pandemic, which was great. It was all live, filmed, and then it was projected. So at the same time. So yeah, it's I'm still out there kicking my legs. Still early. Yeah.
Nice.
And did you say you're in Boston now?
Say that again?
Did you say that you're in Boston now?
No, I'm in Vancouver.
You're in Vancouver. Okay. I'm
I'm
sorry. I
in
missed that.
Vancouver, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. We had these conversations around like lineage and like not, playing up where someone comes from in terms of their teaching and stuff like that. But one of the things that I have played up with you and with some of the other people is that who was in your graduating class with Vintage Pilates? Because it's just fun that like all the people that I've had on, I didn't even know were connected. But you.
I had such a great year, like it's chemistry as well. But
yes.
And I guess it's timing. There was Joel, there was Els, there was Miguel Silva, there was Fernando Sadir. There was Arlene Salomon. There was also what's her name? God,
Gloria too, right?
No, Gloria was the year before.
Okay.
No, 2 years before. Leslie Logan. There was also there was 12 of us. There was like 6 guys. 6 guys for 8 girls, which is very rare. Usually you have like 11 girls for 1 guy. So there was a good balance, which was wonderful. It was, I think it made, for me anyway, made the experience even richer, because usually I'm always even when I teach every day in a world of translation, I have to imagine things that I'll never feel, like pelvic floor. I know we have muscles that are the same, but some of them, organs and all this changes the, like the size and shape of other parts of the body. And so it was great to being able to look at the body and to go, oh, I don't have to translate. It felt just direct, which is, it was really nice to have like working with. I don't think I had been in a Pilates world, in an environment where for such close proximity and for such a long period of time, I was cultivating that, like that similarity, which was great.
Nice.
Yeah. No, that's the kind of thing that we said. I think about these teacher training programs, and I'm sure that definitely informed like your teacher training, right? Looking at the bodies that are around you, saying, okay, well, look at the people that are in the room here, and how do we translate that, and how do you use that, and how do we, with our cueing, for example, learn and find cues that are adaptable based on having to adapt to the people in the room.
cueing is a fascinating thing. I mean, there's, different level, and um, I'm fascinating these days because bodies are similar, but at the same time, they're different. We all have a resonant frequency where we all move at almost at the same pace, but we're not. Like our own pace has something very, it's specific to one. It's almost like your fingertips, like your fingerprint. Like there's something very unique to our rhythm. And what what I find interesting is that often I've been asking myself, I guess, I was saying to you and you saying, what do you want to talk about? I have more questions, I guess, than actually answers, because I feel the question helps me to be more present in in finding the answer, which is live. I can understand the concept of, like the pelvic floor, the recto-pubo-coccygeal, and, all those things, how they connect. But what has been amazing is when, and what is strength. And I just find it's a phenomenal idea, because I'm still stuck in the concept of thinking that strength is, even if I know it's about movement, it's about gathering, holding, and moving, which is actually, it's almost the wrong order. Is that as you move, engagement, connections starts moving, and then they propulse each other, which then makes me, question what is strength. If I shift my weight here, do I need the same amount of strength to go, I'm going to use my belly and I'm going to stand up? Then I have to go, maybe if I shift my weight just slightly forward, and if you can even try it as you're sitting there, if you shift your weight slightly forward, you can feel that there's the beginning of strength of whatever you need there. You don't need more. And I find myself, or even the concept out there, when we start thinking about strength, it has to be all or nothing. And so it makes me question timing. When do you need it, and how much? So it's been really, really fun watching people move, and not pre-cue, but observing and realizing that there's also the impact of how gravity and how we're innately designed through evolution, because our body is constantly in a state of exercising. I mean, exercise came around 500 BC when the Olympics were created. But before that, we have to learn how to move, because you're cooking, like, I don't know, your giant dinosaur leg, and then the saber tooth is coming. It's like, and you have to move really fast. And so through evolutions, we found a way to constantly be in action and ready for movement. And so what's been amazing to realize, like, without telling people when and how, to figure out within also my own body, but also helping them to feel in their own body, actually their innate design of connection, and helping them to find better mobility to create better stability, which equals balanced strength. So it's been really, you can see I'm nerding out, and I'm telling you, it's
you're talking it out, right?
And it's hard to explain, because these are the things that I find like you have to experience. But when I was listening to how this conversation started today, and how sometimes insane, but also privileged I am to be able to, and also it's a place of refuge for me, to be able to go back to the body, go back to its truth, go back to its understanding in the wildness and the craziness of the world that we live in right now. So it's also for two things, I just feel it reminds me about how lucky, and my, like just the privilege of realizing that I'm healthy, like I can help people feel healthy, and their mind-body connection, their body-mind connection, and how it impacts, like the balance of all things,
Yeah, absolutely.
How lucky we are as well to be able to appreciate our bodies in a way that allows us to be curious.
Oh,
Yes.
That to
curious is the
me
key
is,
word, isn't it?
that's the biggest gift. You know, I remember back when I danced, you know, my body was my tool, but I didn't necessarily like my body. I always had a criticism or a judgment either foisted upon me or one that I assigned to myself. And I didn't love my body the way I love it now. And, you know, a lot of that I'm sure is just youth and thinking that you're unbreakable and having to find your way through some experiences in the body that you're in. Um, but, you know, when I turn that to strength, when I think about strength in that way, um, you know, for me, fortunately or unfortunately, strength was just a given. And then I had things happen to me where I had to explore my relationship with strength, what it meant. What it definitely didn't mean was very clear, but what being strong meant to me was something that I was and still am massaging and still trying to understand as my body transitions as I age. So, I mean, I think this is like one of those places where, you know, we all get together and sit on a rock and drink tea and watch the sunset and try to answer all of these philosophical questions about what strength is. But, you know, I love the fact that you geek out on this kind of thing because I do too. And sometimes I think I'm
Yeah.
trying to drive myself insane, but it's so interesting. I mean, there's so many great people on this call that I'm sure have very interesting perspectives as well. Guys, post them because this is such a great conversation.
Absolutely.
Everything we're talking about, I feel that it's related to as simply and powerful, which is complex ultimately, as the center of our body. It's the same thing, finding the center of our body, or, you know, the world is uncentered or imbalance. I feel there's similarities in terms of like even the way the chipmunks right now on imbalancing the ecology of what you're trying to do. It's always about, you know, like the
That's some
balance.
fresh
And
trauma. No, that's fresh
oh, I
trauma.
know.
I'm
I keep
bleeding
like I
inside.
keep going like this. You thought you were the destroyer of dreams. I am your nemesis. Reminding you ever again, like, look at the sky, lift it.
The
But
pain,
it's
the horror.
exactly. But I just feel at the end of the day, it is about trying to find or COG or center of gravity or
Mhm,
center. I mean,
mhm.
it's about finding the element of what bring us, you know, like if I put too much tension or if there's too much tension or if I hold or my concept of how I think I'm supposed to be moving according to how its design has been made, you
Yep.
know, like how it is, not been made, but the way it is, there's a conflict. And that conflict really does informs the quality of the ability to absorb and to reuse that power in order to find an ease.
A student has a question in the back here for you know.
Yes, yes.
So how much of this is a conversation about celebrating our uniqueness?
Ooh,
Good question.
Because when someone walks
yes.
into the room, we are now talking about this is the exercise, this is what it's supposed to look like. Let me get down, I'm going to demonstrate it for you. Let me give you some verbal cues, let me give you some tactile cues, but not opening with celebrating the uniqueness of the person who's coming into the room, as to say, this is the idea, this is where you're going to feel it. It might look totally different on your body, and that's fine too, because you're unique and you're strong in your way. So
We're
that
judging
conversation,
immediately.
we're judging immediately.
Yes.
I agree. Having a student, I think, is completely about, you know, like the celebration of the uniqueness of who we are. And I think the hardest and the most brave way of teaching is teaching a student-centered approach, where you are there to observe and find the right timing without interfering, but just being there when you believe they're ready to, or feel by trial and error sometimes, to hear where and when what they have to be, where they're capable of. And that takes time, practice,
Yes.
instead of already trying to give them the definition of what alignment is.
Yes.
And you just go, no, you already made it
Yes.
here. You know,
Right.
like, and I find sometimes we generalize our sensation to go, oh, I have a bad back. And you go, well, you still tied up your shoes, you stood up, you rolled out of bed, you walked here. It's certain aspects of you that is maybe needs more attention, TLC, or sometimes tough love instead of tender love and care, you know, like in order to be honest about where you are in your process and finding that these moments, instead of generalizing, oh, this is what it's supposed to be like. The best posture is the next one, the one that you're about to make, not the one where we know that gravity is what it is, but we're designed to move, and that's not movement. It's just you're not in action yet.
Yes.
So it is completely about that.
I have to just jump in with something. Everyone, I don't know if you caught this, but when Noam said the word hear, he did this with his hands. There's something about hearing with your hands.
Yeah.
Interesting, you're right.
Right? Jean-Claude, how are you, sir? You know, there's something about like you, it's not just like you did that and it was just so natural for you, but like there's such an engagement as an instructor that you have and that I aspire to and all of us aspire to, like as we level up our teaching, that you did that unconsciously, but there is a listening that happens with other parts of our body as we're trying to get people to where they need to be.
Yes. Yes.
This to me, it's an act of balance. I just feel, you know, like what I try to aspire in them, if I want them to feel it more, is to find that moment of balance between even shifting like this, where you go, it's there. You see a little bit less there. And then you go put into action. And then you realize that that force has the potential to propulse and to reabsorb. And I just feel it's so hard, but it's so exciting because you're not there to tell them anything that they don't already know, you know, which is so fun, you know, at the same time, because I find, I don't know about you guys, but the more I teach, the better also I am a practitioner, because some people have strength that I don't have. Some people, I don't have yet, or I'm discovering, and some things for me come easier than for others. And I just feel it just helps me to also find that prism of you know, like being 360 degree, you know, like to be full body connection in all aspects of spheres. Yeah, fears.
Not fierce. We don't want
not fear. No.
But yet that's a piece of it as well, though. You know, it's resonance, right? It's getting them to find and feel and hear. But you know, our goal or our position is to help them explore and find. We're guides, we're not taskmasters, because that resonance has to come from within. That balance is something that is individual, it's unique, it is something that we cannot prescribe as movement teachers, or you know, whatever we're calling ourselves this week. I think one of the issues that happens in the teaching environment is that we as teachers get either too directional or too laissez-faire. Maybe that's strong, but you know, no one wants to be the taskmaster. That's like, we don't do that. It's déclassé these days. So instead it's, let's just let people move and fly and be free, but they wouldn't have come in the first place if they weren't looking for something to begin with. So,
right. When Noam, you said a second ago, like, we're not here to tell you something you don't already know. Now, in saying that, what that does is puts the onus on us to be that much more intentional with the way that we teach, so that we're exploring what they know instead of just imposing what I want them to know.
I agree.
I like, I'm passionate about teaching, and I hear that like challenge accepted. How do I refine myself again? How do I listen again? How do I go into my next client with eyes wide open, ears wide open, even if I have a skeleton of a plan, to see them in front of me and then put together everything that we've been talking about for the last 40 minutes, 30 minutes. Like, I like that stuff. Like, I don't know about you, but like that kind of gets me
I
excited.
do completely.
Just want to geek out on the nuances of the movement, because everything you're saying is like this big. Like, you know what I mean?
It's
It's
true.
not like we're doing these big things. It's like this big. If you can just move like this, feel this when you initiate the movement, not when you move, but when you initiate it. Where is that coming from? If you shift your weight like this, now where does that come from? Like, those are like the minutia of what we do that makes us better. I love that stuff.
And strength shifts as you need it through space. So it's wonderful to realize that the initiation is there, but then as you do a rolling like a ball example, that power is there, but it's shifted on its head almost literally. And then it's that shift again, it's the balance between the two that brings it back. To realize that we get focused on one area of the body when you realize that it actually, it's the component of how it interacts and connects has layers. You may be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 20, 40, 60, 70, and then you go into a back. It's there to anchor, and then there's less, there's more. It's where is it and when and how do you, no, it's more like how much do you need and when? And that's just, it's, you realize that journey is forever.
Yes.
And it's so fun because what is it to teach
fun.
movement, and strength, I think movement is strength, not strength is movement. We walk and we have either an imbalanced amount of strength that creates tension, which tension is not strength, which often overusing or over demanding one area of the body creates what I think people, I feel, I myself, even still myself, I feel that the tension, I think, is strength. And strength should be tensile, not in a way that it
rigid.
Holds you, or even just, it should shifts. It should not be just there and everything else. It should, have an ebbs and flow and a traveling force like movement is.
But isn't staying still strength as well? I mean, I think strength is definitely required to stay still. I'm not even thinking about it from a postural perspective, like is everything stacked and aligned? I'm thinking of it more in terms of because of gravity and everything shifting around us, we have to work against that.
So true. It's true. It's our moment almost of reckoning, when we're actually still. It's our moment to actually assess and reassess, to go where I'm at, what is my status quo, are the choices that I'm making, and the leading me to where I want to be. They're powerful moments because we need to have this moment of going like where I'm at. Otherwise, you just keep moving without reassessing, and the process becomes random, just a sensation. I agree with you.
Yeah. There's no, we were talking earlier about like your acronym. I don't know if it's your acronym, but about enough, necessary, useful, fun, and fluff.
I like that a lot.
So yeah, explain that. We were just talking on the actual.
Well, this is like I feel I've learned a lot of exercises, and I've got in Pilates a lot of amazing teachers that have really helped me to understand the classical work. And but I feel and I've learned through teaching, through movement, but in terms of having a sense of academia, a sense of understanding a logistic of how the pedagogy of how it happens, for me, the Franklin method was my key in. And this is one of the things we use. Enough means basically what is necessary, what's useful, what's fun, and what's fluff. In order, when I teach, in order to create a balanced dosage, in order to be able to understand the art of cueing, because it's proven scientifically that depending of your level, which is based on the student in front of you, you know, like one cue most of the time will be more than they can handle at the beginning. Two, you have to start quite being like a good practitioner. Mixing three cues, like you may lose them, it doesn't mean it's impossible, but you have to be a very practiced, you know, embodied practitioner to be able to have these three, you know, like this. Whoops, see? More like that. Whoops. Not really. But, and I feel that principle for me, which is layers, the first time I lay them down, what's necessary is the choreography. Teach them the choreography. And then what's necessary is like, what is the greater goal of that, you know, of that exercise for the body in front of me and from the expertise they bring into the room. And then after you give them one cue, what could be useful to enhance that experience. And then if they get too intense, you can, you know, find a dosage to give them something fun and fluff about. So it distracts them to go back into their body. So the intent, you know, is more like fluid. And then if it, you know, then you can make something fun also out of it. Going like, just move, woohoo! Mm-hmm. And then, you know, like I feel it helps me to balance my dosage with them. And that there's layers depending of like where they are in their process. But I love that one. It reminds me about the specificity of know what I know, but what is in front of me. And then, you know, like a lot of interviewing in terms of like, you know, like do it, do it, do it. And then you go, do you notice when you're actually doing this? Because sometimes they don't even know what they're feeling. So you kind of give them a hint, but you don't tell them, I want you to press your belly down because can you feel it's moving? It's not the same thing. You make them aware and then they go, oh yeah, right. You don't tell them it's good or bad. You just give them that experience and go, hey, that's good. It's good enough for me. And then you go, I'm going to put my fingers right there under your heels. Now, can you move? Do you feel what it does right now to your low back? Oh, it's more onto the mat. Oh, great, excellent. Does it feel more powerful and body more connected? Great, let's do that. You know, you find ways to just, you know, like keep them curious. And that was like you were saying, Misty, you know, like curiosity, to keep people curious in their own process. When we live in a society where you can't go to a party and say, oh my God, my back feels so good today. You know, like it's amazing. I woke up, no pain. We go, oh my God, my back feels so sore today. Oh, me too. God, I need to see a chiro. I need to exercise more. These are the language that we share every day, not the other one. So I feel I try to bypass within their own, you know, like, where they're at, but also I have my own scenarios, you know, like as well. So we're all pretty much even like this. And I try to just find it from a point of view of cultivating something different. And then over time, it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm correcting something bad. Hey, you're correcting forever, or you're just learning about being more embodied, more balanced, and learning to teach yourself how you can make yourself feel good.
It's almost like you're enhancing their experience as opposed to correcting them every time they do something wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And are we doing something wrong if they're already there and they're already trying their max, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I know the language you're saying because I feel like that. But I'm harder on myself than I am on them. You know, I look at them, I go, hey, you made it to the door. I can see you don't really like exercising, so bravo. Now you have to deal with me. Good luck. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. I don't know why you want to do that. And then, you know, you try to make them realize that any movement is good as long as you're not creating pain, you know, like And, pain is just an indication of an imbalance. We're talking about, the relationship of balanced mobility
Yes.
creates balanced strength. Like the more you have better mobility, the more strength you have. Not because you have strength like this, but you have strength that is pliable, elastic,
Dynamic.
reusable,
Yes.
dynamic. Yeah, thank you. It's a
Yeah.
great word.
We could actually do like a course on dynamic strength based on a conversation with Sarah a few weeks ago and Noam today. Like
Oh, nice.
we could probably just bottle that up.
I think we should
Gormore
consider
Joe,
it, just
I
saying.
know, no doubt, no doubt. Gormore Joe, Sonny has a comment here. Said Bruce Lee, a good teacher shows you where to look, not what to see.
No,
1,000%. Yeah.
1,000%.
Helen said, I love that. Shanti Plaz, absolutely. Some other comments. Just I didn't want to interrupt the flow of what was going on here, but a few
It's
people are coming
great.
through with some great
Please.
comments. John Claude Nelson, I'm not sure if he's still here, but was here earlier.
Lucky
You're still
us.
here. How are you doing, my friend? And Leslie Logan was in here and has since left as well. But and sorry, Shanti's earlier. My 87-year-old mom and 28-year-old athlete. It's like just being able to just come from this place and be able to integrate those cues, regardless of who's in front of us, is so cool.
One of the things I want to say too, when we talk about pain, because Noam has mentioned pain several times, and I think that we have to really, Jean-Claude is still here. Hello. I think that we have to consider pain and for what it is and what it isn't as well. And in particular, what the student's relationship is with what pain is and what pain isn't. Because,
yes, well said.
There's a lot of research that says that back pain in particular, there's not always, in very many cases, there's no physical reason for that pain. It's emotional. And so in visiting and revisiting what pain is, and I think it's important for us as teachers to really talk to our students. They're not just like meat slabs on feet that walk in. They're actually sentient beings with thoughts and feelings. I think we need to make sure that we understand what their relationship is with pain, because that oftentimes feeds into their relationship with strength and their relationship with balance. If we're not considering those things, then we can't do what Sonny and Bruce Lee have suggested. We can't guide because we don't know. We haven't connected in that way.
Right.
I agree. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
wow, it got quiet.
No, it's wonderful. It didn't need anything else. It's just like it just resonated. It was like
going out with the chipmunks.
Yeah.
They're still eating, just to let you know. Right there.
There's nothing left. They ate it all. There's nothing left.
But it's very true, and it's a powerful. It's completely powerful that all we can do is help people. Well, as a teacher, I feel what I create is a toolbox for them to have more tools to use when it's needed, to inform them how and where, and maybe through sensation, physical information, but at the end of the day, we can't do it for them. So it's really powerful to feel that all we can do is to guide them, and how I don't know if there's a recipe. I think we all get better at just observing, listening, finding timing, dosage, figure out what could be necessary by interviewing, by trying, trial and errors. And hopefully our trials are just more about accumulating something that create better toolbox.
I hadn't used the word dosage in my speak, but I just wrote that down because I think that's part of it, right? Like it is that dosage of that balance of all these things. But also, one of the things we haven't mentioned, and what happened a minute ago when Misty just dropped that beautiful comment, that bomb is we used silence.
Yeah.
Noam and I used that silence. Misty just finished, and we use that silence to just let it be. And we can't be afraid of silence as teachers, as listeners in this process, right? Like that silence is just as powerful a tool as the most brilliant words that I could put out to help someone get to where they need to be.
Yeah. Agreed.
Because it's about that silence, I feel, is about either about them or about what is. And I think often for me, I feel it's without the resonance, I feel I'm just moving on to the next.
Yep.
And, you know, the only way we can learn is because we have the luxury to be able to reflect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't take just the silence is enough to have a moment of reflection of the impact of what can be or is. And I think it becomes really student-centered, and we're all our own student on some level.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that happens, and it doesn't happen all the time, but when you're teaching a really good group, a group that has been together for a long time, they've progressed at the same level and at the same rate as well. And when you're teaching that intermediate to advanced flow, and it's just going, and you're just giving a word or two or the name of the exercise, and it's like each of their individual universes has expanded to create this one big universe in the room, and there's nothing else, and there's no sound, and it's just movement, and you can feel the energy of that movement, and it's like, woo, like there's just
so
nothing
good.
more. I mean, I'm just getting sweaty just talking about it. There's nothing more amazing than when that synergy happens, it locks in, and then that universe grows. That is one of my favorite things about teaching, because you can bask in the silence.
Yes.
And the energy carries the movement. I don't even, all I'm doing is directing traffic, but that's it. I just get to sit back and enjoy the show. And that is one of my favorite things about this work that we do.
Sure. That magical moment, we take for granted how much work it takes to get to that moment. And that is our whole conversation. Watch the replay if you just jumped in right now, because we talked so much about getting people into hearing where they are, listening to their body, getting curious about their body. So when people can do that, that place of silence isn't a scary place. They can be in that silence and listen to themselves and challenge themselves and accept themselves and do all those things so that the next movement can happen from their place of strength. So that's such good stuff there. Let me just read Helen's comment here. When we keep talking or listening to someone else, it's not easy to keep the connection with our body, and our senses are directed outside. So yes, exactly. That's the same thing. So just coming into that place. It's 10:59.
No, 7:59.
It's 7:59. That's right.
I feel
so
it.
We're just going to shift over to West Coast time and keep going for 3 more hours. How's that?
The IG gods will not allow us to get away with that.
Right. No, exactly. No, I just wanted to say that place of refuge, like you said earlier, Misty, you've created that place of refuge for me today. You know, as we just come into this place of just, I came in heavy, you know what I mean? Like I just really did come in heavy in this, but I knew that I look forward to Wednesdays with you, Misty, and I look forward to just connecting with my friends in Vancouver. And yes, Pilates and all things talk about Pilates is a place of refuge for me. So to do it with you two today has been really, really
me too.
Good for me.
To meet you, Noam, thank you
Me
for
too.
just bringing all of you. You're amazing.
Absolutely.
And talking about resonance, listen to her voice. Oh, there's so much resonance. Well, in both of your voice, to be honest. But like, Oh, such a pleasure. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Much love. And thank you to
And
Always.
Mr.
everyone.
Reed, as always, bringing
Woo!
fabulous people for fabulous conversation. You are the best.
Talk about
Thank you.
personal victory. Yes.
Mm.
What you've created. I was thinking about the name this morning. What you've created, powerful.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
Thank you.
inviting us to share. Oh,
And thank all of you for listening, of course, because we would just be talking to ourselves, which would be totally fun, but it's nice to have friends on the call. So
it
thank
really
you.
is, isn't it?
All right, my friends.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye,
Take
guys.
care.
Ciao.